live from New York. It's a show that's currently turning off their phone.
Why you got your phone in your hand?
Because I was late, I'm turning it off.
What are you doing,
You get
man?
mad at me when I play with my phone.
Because you're trading stocks during the show.
No, he's not.
Yes, you
I
are.
don't believe that.
I was only once.
I'm looking over at him. And if the stock market is down, I take note of it that he's going to be grumpy the next day.
Really?
Yes.
Brew's over there day
He's
trading.
Yes.
making stuff up.
Bro,
He's making
I'm
stuff
not
up.
looking at your stock.
I mean, I've checked it here and there. I'm not trading. I mean,
I had no idea.
Yes.
check it every now
I'll give it
and
a
then.
look, and if it's green, I'm like, oh, this segment's going to be great. But if it's red,
I had no
tread
idea. Wow.
Yeah, man, you got to be careful.
Wow.
We're starting with Rashee Rice's availability. Report from Schefter. Rashee will be available for the first 4 games since his disciplinary hearing is set for late September. We're going to take a look at the Chiefs' schedule. First 4 games, kind of tough. Against the Chargers in Rio, then it's a Super Bowl Super Bowl rematch in Arrowhead. Then the frisky Giants in New York, and then back home against the Ravens, which we'll be on sandwich watch for. Nick, what does this mean for Kansas City?
All right, so I want to address 2 things here. First one is, honestly, I do think this is ideal for the Chiefs to be able to have their full complement of guys to start the season, and because he's going to get suspended. We all know he's going to get suspended. I think a fair estimate is a minimum of 4. I don't know what the maximum is. I think my money would be on somewhere from 4 to 6 games. Right. I think that seems reasonable. I think anything less than 4, people would be upset about. And anything more than 8, I think would be, given the NFL's precedent on other suspensions, too much. So I think somewhere in that 4 to 6 range. The reason that I'm happy as a Chiefs fan that he is available for the beginning of the season is because it allows you to start the year, in theory, with your full complement of guys, get rolling, and then kind of treat this like, oh, he pulled a hamstring, and he's out 4 to 6 weeks as teams deal with, as opposed to you start the year minus your number 1 receiver, and then you get whatever rhythm you have with Xavier Worthy, then he comes back. Now, if I'm wrong about the time of the suspension, if it's 12 games, then you'd rather it start as early as possible. You know what I mean? Yeah. Rather than it basically he's out for the entirety of the regular season. I know there is some, it's like, oh, wow, the Chiefs opening 4 is really tough. The next 5 is just as tough. So, like, if you look at it, and we can argue about, what's more important, but this is, tough divisional game, Super Bowl rematch, a game they're big favorites in, and then one of the top AFC contenders in the Ravens. But then if you look at the next group of games, so say the Jags take place of the Giants there, which, even though I think the Jags will be better, the Lions are a different super tough AFC contender. The Raiders are a divisional matchup, and then an NFC championship opponent. And to me, the Ravens-Bills games are kind of equivalent in difficulty, except the Ravens game is in Kansas City and the Buffalo game is in Buffalo. And so there is not an easy stretch for the Chiefs in the first 10. He's now going to miss, it looks like, the latter half of the first 10 rather than the front half of the first 10.
You could see 6 and 4 there, Brew, pretty easy. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
you could see that every year, and then they're 9-1. I mean, every year the Chiefs have one of the hardest schedules.
Yeah, they're
every
always
year
gonna
we
have the
say
tough
they
schedule.
could have it, and then they're 8-2 or 9-1 after the first 10. Go.
I completely disagree with you.
Wow.
I do agree that I think it'll be 4 to 6 games, but I would rather have him miss Rashee Rice the first 4 games or 6 games, whatever it is, and then once he gets back, we have the rest of the season to work him in. He gets his rhythm. Like now, he's going to play the first 4 games, and then his rhythm's going to be broken, for 6 weeks, whatever it ends up being. So that's the first reason I don't like it for the Chiefs. Secondly, and you're right, the schedule's always tough for the Chiefs. But if you beat Baltimore and Philadelphia without your number 1 receiver, now you've gotten in their heads just a little bit more. Like if they played him without Rashee and still beat him, which is possible, now it's like if you meet them in the playoffs or postseason, if it were Philly, now they're like, well, we got to deal with this guy
Doesn't
that we
that
didn't
apply
have
for
to
the
early.
Buffalo game, though, as well,
It does
if you were to
apply,
miss that
but
one?
Buffalo's beaten them in the regular
Every year.
season,
Yeah.
and it hadn't mattered in the postseason. And then I also think if I'm Baltimore or Philly, and I want to see the Chiefs whole with Rashee early on. So then if we meet him in the playoffs, it's like, okay, I know how to deal with Worthy and Rashee and Kelsey. Whereas if Rashee's not there, okay, we did fine against Kelsey and Worthy, but now we got to worry about Rashee Rice. So if I'm the Chiefs, I would prefer that he be suspended at the get-go.
But before we move on, can I address the other thing I wanted to do real quick? Because your buddy, Mr. Schedule Rest, is that his thing, Warren Sharp's thing?
Oh, yeah, I love Warren Sharp's schedule rest.
And my buddy, Steven Ruiz of The Ringer, already, it has to be football season, and people are already like, wow, league office, sure, cutting the Chiefs a break. And starting with the other piece of it was they put this hearing when they did because the league wants the Chiefs whole for these big nationally televised games. If we can put that schedule back up real quick, here's the thing about the Chiefs' schedule. They have more national TV games than the AFC South cumulatively. So yes, it is true that he is now available for the YouTube game week 1, the huge Fox game week 2, Sunday Night Football, and the huge CBS game. The thing is, every one of their first 10 games is a standalone national game except for week 7 against the Raiders.
Well, are you saying that there's a contingent of people on the internet that are saying that this suspension is
the timing of not a contingent of people, some of our favorite football minds, your guy Warren Sharp, is saying that the timing of this is a favor to either the Chiefs or the NFL's television partners because of the marquee schedule early on. With how often
That's ridiculous.
I don't agree with that, but why? It doesn't make sense to me.
Like, Rashee Rice is on.
Why does the hearing have to be so late? I think
typically when you have a
make
hearing,
sense.
it's 60 to 90 days after the case is adjudicated, and this is 75 days after the case has been adjudicated. So that piece of it, like Jordan Addison, there is no hearing. It was a DUI. He pled. You know what I mean? This is a more gray area piece of it, which is why they have to have the hearing.
If Mahomes is there, it's still box office.
Yeah, that's the other piece of it. I don't think I don't think
we saw
as much
him all
as I like
last year
Rashee
without
Rice,
Rashee
I don't
Rice.
think he's a ratings needle mover. And I
And he's been gone for so long.
Exactly.
Like a lot of people don't even.
Many times on this show, we've requested that Mahomes bring back the light show. Really, Dusty has been carrying the torch on that. Well, that might be the plan, according to Nate Taylor of ESPN, who has a new article out of Chiefs camp. He's writing, Chiefs hope this year's camp will be the foundation and perhaps the launching point, for Mahomes' performance this season to reach yet another elevated level, one that will lift the offense to become more dynamic and feared by opposing defenses again. Wow. Okay, so is Patrick's number 1 QB spot in jeopardy? Kind of a twist of a question since.
Well, look, Mahomes I've said he's a top 2 quarterback already behind Brady. But I'll say for those, he's top 3 clearly, all right, with Joe Montana. So he's already top 3 with what he's done to this point. And Lamar or Josh or Joe Burrow winning the Super Bowl this year is not going to put them ahead of him historically. So he will still be like historically ahead of anybody else in the league, even if you think he's not the best. And look, Brady, the GOAT, was only first-team All-Pro 3 times in his career. There were good stretches of his career where he was not viewed as the best quarterback in the league. It was Peyton or it was Rodgers.
Do you think he was, or there were big stretches where people thought he didn't have the best season, but they still viewed Brady? Brady post-07 was considered the best quarterback
early
in
on,
football.
he certainly wasn't the best. But remember, he did go a decade. Like once what he did with Moss in 07 was that kind of took him to, okay, he's the best quarterback in the league.
That's what I'm saying.
But I don't think every year from that point on, I think some people still thought Peyton.
I know politely, there was a lot of controversies around Tom Brady that people would try to poke at him.
Oh yeah, but
So that was also that was also hurting his reputation, and he had a little chip on his shoulder. But it's not just all wrong.
Yeah. So I don't think because of Mahomes' historical greatness, it's like, and to be viewed as the GOAT, he has to be like every year he played, he was the best quarterback in the league. But so if this year, let's say he has a similar type of season, but if they get to the Super Bowl and he still has a 93 passer rating or whatever, he still got to be viewed as the best. One caveat, I guess, is if Jalen Hurts were to beat him again in the Super Bowl, and be the Super Bowl MVP,
then Jalen gets
we're going to be saying Jalen's the best quarterback in the league.
That's fair.
Right.
I mean, that part goes.
Right. But for Lamar, for the other three in the top four, they're going to have great individual seasons. He's going to have like a similar mediocre season, and they're going to have to beat him in the playoffs. And that's the only way to me that they pass him as the best quarterback in the league.
Here's why I find this conversation, and listen, it is not a straw man. I know every year come December, I bring up, people were saying Mahomes wasn't the best. And in Wild sometimes you're like, were people really saying that?
No, but
this year, it is very, I still think he would win the Family Feud style poll, but it wouldn't be 80 votes Patrick. It'd be like 40 Patrick, 30 Josh, and 30 for the other guys collectively, right? What I find so frustrating is, do we all agree that last year for the other guys in the Big Four, and I'm not trying to pick on Jalen, but you have him fifth or ish.
Yes.
So let's just Burrow, Allen, Lamar. Right. Last year, for those three guys, their seasons raised their standing, and Patrick's season lowered his a bit.
Yes,
narrowed.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's what I find outrageous about that. If Patrick were to have this year a carbon copy season of any of those guys, it would hurt him. If Patrick this year had Joe Burrow's season, unbelievable numbers. I'm saying he has the year that Joe Burrow had. Unbelievable numbers and misses the playoffs. Nobody is coming out of this season saying Mahomes has a stranglehold on first place now. They would say it hurt him. If he had Lamar's year, almost wins MVP, but for the first time in his career, doesn't make a conference championship game, no one would say that helped him. And if he had Josh's year, wins league MVP, but loses, Josh finally beats him, loses to Josh to get to the Super Bowl, nobody would be like, well, now Mahomes has widened the gap. But if any of those three guys have Mahomes' exact season, mediocre stats, leads the league in fourth quarter comebacks, the team has the 1 seed, they beat Patrick in the playoffs and make the Super Bowl, it will help them. All of those guys.
But obvious why.
Tell me.
Mahomes' standard is higher than it. He's won 3 Super Bowls already. And I don't think it will hurt him.
So this is my frustration, Brew. We can't say Mahomes is judged by a different standard because he's the best when people are arguing he's not the best. You know what I mean? I totally get if it were universally accepted, Mahomes is here, everyone's fighting for second place. And then the Mahomes standard is him versus Ghost, him versus Brady or Manning or Montana, whomever. So be it. But that is not the argument that is being had this offseason. The argument that is being had this offseason is he still the best quarterback in football? So if that's the case, then everyone's got to be judged by the same standard. Like
I think if let's say he had Lamar's season.
Yeah.
And
lost
loses
in round
the
2
playoffs.
To one of the other big 3.
I get it definitely doesn't help him, but I don't think it hurts it. I think a lot of people would still say he's the best. I don't think it would drop him. I think it wouldn't increase him for sure.
But if so Josh Allen is the guy most popular as far as the guy who's overtaken him. If my question is this, if this coming year, Mahomes wins league MVP, and Josh has all the team success, but not great numbers, and then Josh outplays and beats Patrick in the AFC title game, and I then come on TV and say, Mahomes has overtaken Josh Allen with this season, people would say that's an outrageous take, but it is the take all of the Josh Allen people have right now. That is the take. The take is Mahomes was here, but Josh, in a season where he lost to him again and got beaten by him and outplayed by him, overtook him. If I went into this year conceding, you know what? Mahomes, second best quarterback in football, and then had the take that he overtook the guy who was the best by losing to him in the playoffs and being outplayed by him, I'd be laughed off TV. It'd be Homer Nick. Like that is
well, I hear what you're saying about let's judge them all equally. We can't. Because we can't erase the history of what Mahomes has been and the history of what these other three. These other three clearly have another level they have to get to. Like, they don't have Super Bowls. Two of them don't even have an appearance in the Super Bowl. I just don't think you can erase that when we look at these guys. So I don't think it would hurt Mahomes. If he had a great individual season, I think it keeps him where he is as the number one guy in the league.
I'll pitch you something. Sure. This was the other thing. I didn't pull a quote panel, but it was the other paragraph from Nate Taylor's article that I highlighted. It's just a stat, but Nate laid it out. He completed a career-low 39.5% of his passes in which the ball traversed at least 15 yards downfield, ranking 29th. He also had more interceptions, 6, than touchdowns, 4, on deep throws. I think it's less situational and more when we watch the games. The guy that we saw a few years ago who could make any pass and sling it all over the field doesn't seem to be there anymore. Right. Situations, wins, head-to-head games, all of that, I'm kind of almost putting in the back burner, and I'm the quarterback wins guy. Just the guy that we're watching on Sunday doesn't feel like the same. The offense doesn't feel the same. So I think that's what people are reacting to.
So listen, and I think that is totally fine if the discussion is this the best Mahomes we've seen? Where does this Mahomes rank amongst seasons in his career? How does this season help him in his quest to become the greatest quarterback ever?
He was 29th in passes of more than 15 yards. It's all just small when it used to be.
But the other thing that I'm sure you saw in the article was and this shocked me, I didn't know this, he accounted for a greater percentage of the Chiefs' offense than Lamar or Josh or Joe or anybody accounted for their team's offense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They didn't run.
And I was
because they couldn't.
Yeah.
So that's the point I'm kind of making. Like that there was it was in a spot where you have the most injured skill position team in the league. Your left tackle position, you play 4 different guys. You can't run the ball by your own definition. And so the offense had to be all him, and they found a way to be 17-3 with him starting going into the Super Bowl. And as we put on the screen the other day, I didn't even know it, he had a 110 passer rating Broussard in the fourth quarter. You know, in the fourth quarter of an overtime.
Look, that helps Mahomes. Like, he doesn't have great weapons, or didn't last year.
Just because
he didn't have great weapons last year, whether it's running back or wide receivers. And Kelsey is obviously past his prime, so that does help him. If he was putting up these numbers with
prime Kelsey, Tyreek,
then it'd be a whole different story.
I think the other interesting thing before we move on to Jerry is he said last year was abnormal. If this season plays out with that, you beat the Eagles, you beat the Ravens, you beat the Bills in the regular season, but the numbers are fine and he's still rolling, I don't know how the media is going to view Mahomes. If you put up a stat
what do you mean roll? Like, you have to go to the postseason, though. Does he get to the Super Bowl?
If they're 9-1 and you look at every quarterback stat, like Mahomes 17th, Mahomes 15th.
To me, you'll have to give him his props.
That's what.
If they're still winning again they don't have the Eagles' weapons. So I think with the improvement.
Can I ask one? It's not a loaded question. I honestly am curious your guys' opinion. What do you think will generate more, media applause? If the Chiefs through 10 games are, as you put it, 6-4, and Patrick leads the league in all the categories,
like Burrow style.
Yeah, but a little better than, not below 500 like the Bengals were through 10, but 6-4.
Okay.
Or if they're 9-1, and the numbers look like last year's. Or is it
6-4 and his numbers are off the charts?
6-4 and he has the league's best stats, or 9-1, and say the loss isn't to Eagles, Baltimore, Buffalo. Say it's a dump. They lose to the Raiders.
Sure.
I think what'll help him most would still be to be 9-1.
I mean, it should.
Even with the lesser numbers.
Yeah, right, but this is to put a button on my point. I think the only way, I think he actually has to do both. I think all the other three guys get to do either. I think Lamar, Josh, or Joe, if the team's 9-1, they're in the MVP conversation. And as Joe proved last year, if the team's 5-5, but the stats are great, they're in the MVP conversation. I think the only guy who it is understood you have to win and be in contention for the 1 seed, but also while doing that, you have to put up huge numbers, even though everyone understands you're not on a stacked, last year at least, stacked offense. It's not like, you know what I mean, you don't have Saquon, Derrick Henry, whatever it is. You are the offense. He's the only guy that's got to do both. And that part to me is fine if we're comparing him to Tom Brady. It's frustrating when we're comparing him to guys he beats every year. That's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.